Okay.
We'd like to open the meeting of the March 10th Urban Renewal Commission meeting. Take roll.
Commissioner Pauly?
Here.
Commissioner Shaw?
Here.
Commissioner Benville?
Here.
Commissioner Holliday?
Here.
Commissioner West?
Here.
Commissioner Mengelberg? And Chair Smith.
Here. And we'll start with citizen comments, but I don't see anyone in the audience at all, so
Where's
we're good on that.
Oh, here.
We're good on the adoption of the agenda. Anything that needs to be pulled? Okay. And then we go to first item of business, Urban Renewal Work Plan Workshop. Eric Underwood.
Okay.
Hey, before you start, Eric,
Yes.
I am going to leave the meeting at some point to go attend the Gladstone City Council meeting, so I'll just disappear at some point.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, tonight is we're focusing on setting objectives, prioritizing objectives, and a new work plan for the new biennium. The Urban Renewal Commission established their first work plan in 2012 with a set of core values. Those core values were established just to try to get the desired outcome of the projects in the Urban Renewal Plan. So tonight, what I'd like to do is just kind of...
Not automatically. I had to go to it.
what?
I'm just wondering, I saw them looking like they can't see on the screen what's on there.
Oh,
Did you click over to presentation?
So we have to go to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, no, it's on the...
What are you doing, Rocky?
That's right.
Yeah, it's the PowerPoint. We're watching the
Yeah, so it's
PowerPoint.
on the actual report, but it's also on the PowerPoint. So you switch this and that'll get you what's on.
It's a toggle
You
there.
opened it
Oh.
a different way, but you,
Okay. But okay.
Everybody have it on their screen
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone who doesn't? Okay, thank you. I could
Okay.
just read your face. I thought there was a question mark there.
I was looking at Derek. I know. I was looking at Brian.
I want to play
guys,
poker
come
with
on.
Derek.
You have to take control of your mirror.
It doesn't work. I lose. Carol's going to sit between us next time.
Yeah,
This is
separate you
ridiculous.
guys.
all right.
Okay.
Are we
sorry
ready?
about that, Eric.
That's okay, not a problem. So tonight, basically, I'd like for us to focus on just to review the urban renewal plan a little bit, just go over what is intended and what the activities are listed in there. Go over our current work plan, the accomplishments that we've made over the past couple of years, and review the ongoing projects that we have in our urban renewal district and give you a quick update on that. And then lead into a discussion about any tweaks that we might want to make to the core values, and go over a recommendation that I have as we proceed through the next biennium as far as priorities. So with that, I've got a quick PowerPoint. I'll just try to breeze through it a little bit. So that's basically what I just covered. The first urban renewal plan was established in 1992 with a significant or a major amendment in 2007, increasing the maximum indebtedness to $130,100,000. And the basic purpose of the urban renewal plan is to eliminate blight within the district, and also to comply with the comprehensive plan of the city, as well as the Economic Futures Report, which is basically our overarching economic development strategy, which was updated in 2012.
So what exactly is blight, and how do we thank the legislature for that term?
It's how you define it. It's a very broad term, and it's how the Urban Renewal Commission wants to define blight, basically.
Didn't you have enough of that during the sign code discussion?
No.
The other commissioners missed it, but the city commission tonight grappled with the sign code, and you can imagine how much fun that was. But some of these things are subjective, and that's why we rely on you for those values judgments.
Absolutely.
So basically, the urban renewal plan is centered around a few activities, which are transportation improvements, parks and open space, development and redevelopment assistance programs, such as the grant programs that we have established, public facility and services improvements, public infrastructure, which we've done a lot of in this district, especially in the downtown area, and planning and administration, that's paying for folks like myself, and property acquisition. Case in point, the 922 Main Street, 12th and Main, and Clackamas Drive. The purpose of the urban renewal work plan, now I took a stab at this and made this up, so if it doesn't sound right, let me know. It's to provide a detailed account of prioritized project objectives established by the Urban Renewal Commission to serve as a guide for achieving the desired outcome for urban renewal projects and ultimately leading toward a successful completion of the obligations within the urban renewal plan. Basically, it's providing a structure of how to complete the projects within the urban renewal plan and prioritizing those. The core values, I've got them here as well as on the slide, that were established by the first group, is return on investment. Now, this is what the commissioners wanted to see come out of each project that was listed. They want to see a return on investment, both qualitative and quantitative. They wanted to cultivate resources, processes, and investment in the underutilized or affected area, making the urban renewal district a destination, job creation, economic development, and historical and cultural interpretation. Now, the work plan itself, we kind of divvied it up into short-term, mid-term, and long-term, and prioritized within those categories. And basically, I'll go through that, and you see the projects listed there, but I'll describe them a little bit, and I'll describe the results too. Most of them have been completed, I think, all except for one. So the first one we have on the list is the train depot, the Amtrak station. That project was implemented to identify use for the train station and move forward on tenant improvements. And that project is complete as of last month. It took a little longer than expected. We had a few issues with the contractor.
Oh, but the improvements aren't complete, but the transaction.
The public project, the public piece is complete.
Okay.
Right. And so what's left is for the tenant to come in and make his or her own personal improvements to accommodate their business.
Okay.
And all of those improvements will have to come before the Urban Renewal Commission to be approved. Okay. That's in the lease. So the public improvements have been completed, and a business tenant has been recruited for that, and we're actually signing the lease next Monday. The next one is a short-term priority. Is economic development opportunities at the north end. And so that project was to identify all employment sites or redevelopment sites in the north end of downtown and facilitate development. So that's complete. We've done that. We've done the inventory. We've done the mapping and the listing of all the properties. And we are promoting those as development interest comes into the city. Yes.
Is that both public and private properties, or just?
Yes, both public and private. We're actively marketing the public properties, not so much the private. So, the next short term was explore options for developing infill properties, which we've done. We've taken several approaches on that. We started with the Land of Opportunity campaign, which generated a little interest, but not as much as we had hoped. We've done developer tours downtown, and recently, as of maybe 6 months ago, we've signed on with a commercial broker who is actively marketing the sites that we have, and has generated considerable interest. We've had several meetings with potential developers, but no substantial proposal has come through yet. The last short-term goal was to transfer the Stimson property into city wetlands. That was discussed by the Urban Renewal Commission, and it was basically an analysis was done and decided not to move forward on the issue, given the fact that even though it's urban renewal property now, it was transferred to the city. It's just a matter of the name, who's on the title, because everything once the end of the urban renewal district comes, everything's going to be transferred back over to the city, so it doesn't make a big difference. Midterm was the Blue Heron Willamette Falls Legacy Project. Identify urban renewal tools and programs to help facilitate redevelopment of the Blue Heron site. This one is actually in progress. We are working with Tony and his team to look at ways to fund infrastructure or to finance infrastructure at the Blue Heron site. We have just come to terms on an agreement with a consultant for the Willamette Falls Legacy Project infrastructure financing strategy project that's coming up. And so they will be looking at different ways to fund it, and urban renewal could be a possibility. We just don't know that yet. That's going to come out in the study. Right now, the only piece that's in the urban renewal district is the admin building, or that large office building there on the corner of 99. The rest of it is outside the district. And if we were to expand our boundaries, and I think this pertains to a question that Daphne had as well as Renata, if we were to expand our boundaries to include that piece in urban renewal, we would only have $2 million to work with, because you can only increase your maximum indebtedness by 20%. From the original indebtedness amount. So, and that was $10 million. So that doesn't leave you a lot of money to do a lot of projects with that would really increase the assessed value of that area. The only other option would be to do a new urban renewal district, which could take some time to generate some significant increment there. So, long-term projects. We had the urban renewal incentive programs, which that was basically a new incentive program that we were thinking
Karen,
about.
can you
Yes.
flip the-
Oh, yeah, sorry. We're discussing a possibility of a new incentive program to focus on the redevelopment of the infill sites, basically, because we have a program for the storefront, we have a program for the interior of the buildings downtown, but we don't really have anything for mitigation of the infill sites to get those redeveloped. That's kind of being approached in a different way as coming out of our city commission retreat. There's some funds there for me to go back and to develop a citywide economic development program to mitigate hardships for redevelopment or for vacant lands. Yes.
Refresh my memory on the enterprise zone. Was that in the city limits and urban renewal?
It's all in city limits. It is not in the urban renewal district.
So the enterprise zone doesn't apply to the urban renewal areas?
No, it does
Okay.
not.
All right.
It does not. It is outside the district boundaries.
Okay.
Your mic on? Oh, there we go.
Can you talk to what kind of mitigation might be needed? Is it brownfields or what?
Well, a lot of it's old infrastructure and street improvements and that sort of thing. There could be the possibility of a phase 2 environmental on one of the sites.
Are we talking about Willamette Falls? Or are we talking about?
No, we're talking about our infill sites.
The two sites, the
Right.
site across from Dutch Brothers and the site next to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Right, and then
Yeah.
also the site that's next to McDonald's. Even though that's owned by the city, it's in the urban renewal district.
Okay.
So the 12th and Main site, the one that's next to KFC, for instance, has about a 110-year-old sewer pipe running right through the middle of the site. And of course, any redevelopment, it would be required to move that pipe and upsize it to today's standards. And so that's pretty spendy because you'd have to reroute. So that's just one example. And some, 1910 Clackamas Drive, which is next to McDonald's, is in the floodplain. And so, we were thinking of programs, maybe the developer shows us a hardship or proves a hardship for the site, and we're able to, in grant format, maybe fund some of his hardships to mitigate those anyway. So, but we're doing that now citywide, so we're not just focusing on the urban renewal district, although it would help the urban renewal district, but it would be any developable or redevelopable site in the city. That's what we're looking at focusing on right now. Questions?
I do on your midterm when you were talking about the legacy project, and to Renata's or my question on at forming another urban renewal district, that you were saying you could only get $2 million extra. So I'm presuming you have other methods or other programs that you plan on raising more than $2 million? Is that what, or am I incorrect?
That's one of the things we're going to look at through the study that we're doing right now, the infrastructure financing strategy. There are other options, like for roads, for instance. There's the possibility of the Intermediate Opportunities Fund, which is not funded yet, but it's in the state budget. But we're still waiting to see if it's going to be funded. Is that correct? I believe it's kind of. Renata?
I'm not up to
I think there's still the legislature.
I just got some information about it today. I'm going to share it with you in the morning.
Okay. Okay. Great.
But the $2 million was the expanding the current.
That's as much as you could expand it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the only
So
available.
You could do. I mean, if you did a separate district, that would be a whole other thing. Right?
Yeah, it's starting all over again. Yeah.
Whoops, sorry, I confused those two. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
I don't see the legacy project area as a candidate for an urban renewal area.
No,
I don't. I think it's too valuable on its own.
Correct.
And that we can gain that from other things.
Right.
He's going to send me a text when it's time.
So, Eric, on the Clackamas Drive property,
Yes.
there's been activity there, or
I've had a few meetings with potential developers and companies that like that. I get the big time guys and I get the small guys too. Right now I've got a call. I'll be on a call tomorrow with someone who wants to put a restaurant there. So, but there's a lot of interest. Something's going to happen eventually.
One thing that we have to be clear on is we have to find a way to mitigate the overflow parking from the boat ramp, assuming we're going to reopen the boat ramp.
Right.
So, in conjunction with if we're going to consider a development at that site, there has to be a plan to deal with the parking for the fishermen.
Absolutely. And every discussion that I've had with a potential client, that's been brought to the forefront is the parking issue there and how it's used.
You weren't in favor of that, were you, Commissioner Shaw?
yeah, that's really strange. Where'd that idea come from?
Not to say that it necessarily has to happen on that site,
right?
But we have to have a way to make sure that we provide, places close by for those folks to park.
Well,
I do want to give credit to Commissioner Shaw. I was just joking with him because he let me know that early on. I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, and I really appreciate it too because it spurred a lot of good discussion among our staff about what the alternatives would be, because we're trying to accommodate many uses down there, but yet at the same time still develop it. And I think without his input, we could have overlooked that, and I appreciate it.
I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have overlooked it because there's a couple people in town would have let you know loud and clear. So.
Yes, and they let me know a couple of years ago, and I still think that it's a parks issue, and that the park should look, within the park to increase parking within the park. Crossing a busy street anyway for a parking lot is not such a good idea.
But out of the three properties that we're talking about, though, I mean, that one, it could have a lot of interest after the Cove project's done. I mean, it's the other two that really would have urban renewal support, that I really think we should be concentrating more than that one.
Okay. Yeah, so one's got a sewer pipe and one's got a train.
Exactly.
Other than that, they're great size.
Yes, exactly. Those are the two, though.
So you haven't had any activity on those two sites, Eric? Or?
The smaller ones?
Well, yeah, the smaller sites.
Yes. So, for instance, I was talking to a development group about 3 weeks ago who was interested in both the Clackamas Drive site as well as the 12th and Main. They wanted to do both at the same time. So, a little bit less for the 922 Main. That's such a small site. It's very complex. I mean, there's the right-of-way, the railroad right-of-way issue there where we don't really know where that is. So it could be 25 feet in, and take up more.
How can we not know where
it hasn't been surveyed?
Huh?
It hasn't been surveyed for the right-of-way for the railroad.
Well, I mean, isn't there some general measurement that they do, from the rail so many feet out?
No,
How does that work?
There
The
isn't.
railroad is a different animal.
Oh, I'm fully aware of how different an animal the
I
railroad
mean,
is.
literally a checkerboard of 640-acre tracts were granted for all the way across, and so that creates a very difficult. Oh, it has to be surveyed.
Yes,
There's really
it would
no
have
other
to be
way
surveyed.
There's no general rule of thumb that we can follow.
Okay, so it seems to me that we need to do the survey then, right?
Would be helpful.
Do we have an estimate? On
That's
how much
something
that
we
would
could do
cost?
with urban renewal money, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it
It's
seems
a
to me
short-
that
short-term goal.
that the one
Yeah.
way to take away at least part of the uncertainty of that site is to know what its boundaries are.
Right, because
Yeah.
why
I
would you
agree.
buy a piece of property if you don't know what size it is?
Yeah,
Well, and
yeah.
especially
Think about writing
if
it down right now.
especially if the other side of that
That's why we're
transaction
here.
might be the railroad.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
That's why we're here. We're going to start
Get an
writing stuff
estimate.
down.
Oh, he's getting the stick out.
Oh.
Well, I don't know that we need to get an estimate. Let's just authorize them to do a survey. That piece of
We
property.
have to shop for estimates anyway.
Yeah, so you're going to take the best one, but I say we just tell them to do it.
So this is the site that's a wetland and in the floodplain?
No,
Just-
no, the side across from Dutch
By
Brothers.
Dutch Brothers.
Okay,
The old
The
Enterprise
railroad.
Courier
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
all right.
Uh-oh, that dated me.
The old what?
Enterprise Courier.
This means we're getting serious.
Oh, man.
Oh, look
Work
at that.
plan.
You already wrote it down. You were ready.
I was a Boy Scout.
I'll remember that next year. I'll bring you the blue and gold dinner.
All right.
Wish I would have got to go. That was that another thing
That was
night.
hilariously fun.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
So this is short term?
That's a good one. So since you talked about the sewer and the other one by the KFC, I mean, is that in the overall sewer master plan for the city, or how do you evaluate that? Or is that part of the short-term?
I believe that is in the sewer master plan. I have to verify that with John, but I do believe it is. And it's just kind of a thing where they're waiting for development to do it. But it's certainly something that we can look into. The urban renewal agency doesn't have a lot of money right now, so we're still trying to generate increment. We need that big project to generate increment so we can go out and do some things like this. And that's why we haven't done it at this point. Surveys.
Who did what?
I don't
Katie's
know.
back there messing around. Surveys
Thanks, Renee. I appreciate that.
a little different. Smaller scale. It's something we can hopefully do in the more immediate future. So,
Okay, well, that's one.
okay. It's progress. So the other long term is terminating the existing urban renewal district and forming smaller urban renewal districts throughout the city. That was discussed by the Urban Renewal Commission briefly, and I think it was determined that it would be a nightmare to manage and to keep track of the projects, and so especially with one staff person doing that. So,
So, hold on. So does anybody have any interest in that?
And what would it accomplish?
I'm not sure. I thought there was, I mean, not,
well,
we've kind of gone to the extreme here. We've got a bunch of little urban, or I think the talk was that maybe the north end and the south end would split.
well, they would have to be new urban renewal districts.
Well, they're already one, I mean, but they would split to where you have the north and the south end. And I don't know why that was way back when, and I was trying to remember why that was even brought up, so.
Well, typically, people talk about that when they want the tax increment back on the general fund rolls.
Right.
And if that's not a big pressing need, then it's better to keep your existing, that's
Yeah.
generating increment and finishing your list of projects. The other reason people might do that is you're done with your projects, and it's time to sunset the district.
And neither one of those is the case.
We don't have a lot of increments, and we're nowhere close to being done with our projects.
Right.
We just need the Cove project to be done.
Well,
Politically, it'd be saying that we couldn't
Cove
finish
is so
our
as important as the
existing
other
urban
one.
renewal district, but we want to start
Well.
others.
oh no.
Blue Heron you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about Rossman too.
And the last one is explore economic development opportunities at the south end. And so we did a very preliminary analysis on that through our internal development policy review group, and we brought it to the commission. We haven't had any other further action on that. I think we've kind of focused our energies on the Beaver Creek area, where that seems to be more readily accessible as far as for development. There are many challenges to the south end, given the topography, the geologic makeup, and the lack of infrastructure out there. And then
No, you're talking about the south end of what?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got lost.
it's right outside the city, so it'd have to be annexed. So it's
Oh, on South End.
As you're going
So
Past
that's
Kenema.
inside the urban renewal district?
No.
No,
No,
it's
creating
not.
a new
It's
one.
not.
we're
This
creating
was,
a new
Oh, okay, yeah, no.
But
I
long term.
I tell you, I have no interest in talking about South End whatsoever until we deal with transportation.
Well, in earlier conversations, I believe during the comprehensive plan, there was a lot of discussion about South End, and it seemed like the consensus of the community at the time was that that was primarily residential, not
Right.
for.
Right. Well, I think the focus piece here was that little sliver of looks kind of like could be industrial redevelopment area there to the left as you're going toward Canby off of 99.
Well,
There's a
south of
little piece-
Kenema.
Yeah, south of Kenema. There's like
that's,
kind
Right.
of a warehouse there and that sort of thing. And so
it was 9 acres, wasn't it? It was
something
really
like that.
small.
Net. Yeah. So I
yeah.
mean, you'd have to allow for street improvements. It's an ODOT facility
Mhm.
that would take up property. You've got the bluff on the other side, so you're really constricted.
Yeah.
And extending sewer and water infrastructure would be a
Sewer
challenge.
stops at about just across the street from the pub, the Stillhouse Pub. So you'd have to run it through basalt all the way down there.
Right.
Or on the other side where the railroad is and try to get railroad right away and access.
So we could take that off the list if we
I would
agree
prefer to. Well, yeah, you can.
Sounds good to me.
But in its replacement in regards to long term, I would like to move more towards that Beaver Creek property, right
we
across
are.
from Clackamas,
Yeah.
Clackamas Community College. I mean, you got power there, you got water, you got sewer,
Well,
you're
No,
right
no,
next
we
to
don't
it.
have sewer.
Well, that's
We're going to be working on that, though,
Yeah.
from the city
From the
commission
city.
standpoint.
Okay.
It's on their goals. It made their top.
Well, the goal
All right.
But is
is.
All
that,
right, but-
is that urban renewal?
Can,
No.
but can
So-
it be a new district?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Well, it gets back to the question of forming a new urban renewal district when
Right.
we have so many projects yet to be done in this district.
Well,
So politically, that could be a.
not sure if we need it there right now. I'm pursuing ways to fund the capital infrastructure up there. I'm in communications with the state right now to try to get a planning grant through the Special Public Works Fund to do the drawings and the plans and all the way up to construction documents for that infrastructure there. And then the next phase would be the actual construction. And so there are other funding kind of mechanisms that we can work with.
And the city's putting general fund dollars toward that, going to be in our proposed budget.
And-
coming up.
Yeah.
And I think more importantly, just from a political standpoint, if I'm of the opinion that if we don't absolutely have to use urban renewal, if we can do it with a mixture of private dollars and our general fund dollars, if we can get the infrastructure done, I think the commercial viability of those properties is fine the way it is. It's fairly flat. You know, it doesn't have a lot of topographical challenges, and it would be immediately come on the tax rolls versus having to
In
wait.
the absence of water and sewer is not, that could be straining the definition of blight.
blight.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not
That's the
blight.
only
No, that's a
thing
good
that's
point.
missing.
That's a good point.
So we want to make sure we're just careful with
I
it.
don't think you can strain the definition of blight. Actually, you know,
We're certainly not straining it where it is.
no, I agree.
Well, and there's a couple of other processes too involved in urban renewal, such as Measure 3407, which requires us to go to a vote for each project.
Right.
Which, if it's not an urban renewal district and we're borrowing from the state, we don't have to do that.
I think
Right.
focusing on our district right now is prudent.
Yeah, there's a conservatively $500 million of investment that can happen in the downtown urban renewal district. So you know, if we could get all that, we could close the district.
Yeah.
I guess that, so
So we have
the
a
Cove
consensus.
project's coming up. Okay.
That's a good segue into
Yeah.
what's currently happening, what
That
we're
was
working
a
on.
B, by the way.
And one is the Cove project. If we get that
Half a
underway and built, that's going to give us a pretty good, substantial increment for the district where we can go back and do some of these other projects.
And the
It's
status of that is?
And I did have that in my report tonight to
Yeah.
update you, but I'll just tell you now.
Okay.
Since
Great.
especially the mayor's still here. We're nearing completion of the DDA. Our attorney, Steve Janik, has finished his review, and now Tony and Eric are doing their review. When they're done, they give it to me, and we bring it to you. So we are a few weeks away. I would say.
18th,
Get
yeah.
this-
We've heard that before.
We are.
I know.
Okay, so let me qualify that, since you said that.
That's
We're
gonna
a
be
few
the
weeks
quickest
away
it'll
from
be.
bringing to you an executive session, a DDA that we believe is complete and final and last best offer, basically. And then we take that back to the developer and say, well, the direction we've had in the past is that this one is going to
Can
be
we
a
have one conversation
take
at
it
a
or
time?
leave it sort of proposal. So we do believe that we're close to either having a deal with this developer or being in a place where we should move on.
So I think
And I assume that you've been in back and forth with the developer, so we're not developing something that's going to be,
Yeah,
wholly
tirelessly.
unacceptable to them.
Completely.
Well, I think our charge when we last met in executive session, you charged us to go back and get you some assurances to develop a DDA. We're bringing to you a draft DDA. So we've gotten those assurances for us enough to draft a DDA where we're going to have it all in one package for you on the 18th of March.
Okay.
Okay,
So
great.
18. When was that, Eric?
18th, March 18th.
Coming up.
It's coming up. I had this meeting tonight to try to avoid an extra meeting, but it looks like we're going to have one anyway. So, but that's due to the timing of the DDA. So I apologize. So we'll have a regular. Well, it's going to be an exec session only on the 18th. So the COA project that we're working on, that David just updated you on that. The grant programs are still happening. I mean, I'm getting calls about them almost every other day. People are interested in applying for the next round. Our two open enrollment or two open application periods are working well throughout the year, rather than having it open all the time. We have those 2 periods where we open up for applications. That system is working pretty well. I think we're going to see a lot more private investment with these grant programs in the coming biennium. I would recommend that we keep moving along with those, because that's kind of really our bread and butter at this point.
Just to update me, what is what's the percentage match?
It's 1-to-1.
50.
So
50-50.
50-50. Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Eric, are those grant programs primarily just in the downtown core?
They've been happening primarily in the downtown core.
But it's not restricted to that?
No, it's the entire urban renewal district.
I was thinking that downtown's looking really great. You're going to run out of buildings pretty soon.
But
No,
it
I know.
goes all the way up to Midtown too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it
by
does.
the Carnegie and up there till
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah, it got gerrymandered.
there's a
up
lot of
there.
buildings up there that could
It's like a
use
one
it.
block thing upstairs.
You might remember a
Both
couple of
sides.
years ago, you did expand the program to also include some interior.
Yeah, the adaptive
Yes.
reuse.
Yeah.
So that's been going well. The former living room pub, which is the Jansen Construction Building down there, that was an adaptive reuse project and facade project. And that's an amazing building. I don't know
Looks
if
great.
you guys have seen our before and after
Yeah.
web
That's
page that we put
fabulous.
up there.
Yeah.
It looks.
But that's the kind of thing.
And the scroll work and the top,
Yeah.
and just being able to have our input on that. It's
Yes.
And the
great.
farmers
It
market
is
was down
amazing.
there last Wednesday. I noticed that how much more attractive it is to have that market there with those 2 buildings that are improved.
Yeah.
I
So-
noticed something at night too. Those offices upstairs, they did some kind of weird LED lighting,
Right.
so
Yeah, lights
that
up.
they're,
Changes
and
color.
they're different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the offices, like one's red, and one's
Yeah.
blue, and one's
Oh,
green.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
deserve a
light up.
tour, don't you?
I missed that.
Yeah, I think we deserve
Yes.
a tour. So
That
I'll
would be
contact
good.
Alex and see if he can open it up to let
Yeah.
us see it.
No, I think the grant program is phenomenal, but is there a time where, it is a 50-50. They got to shell up to 50% of it.
Yeah.
Is there a point where they don't think they can afford the money to do anything? And then do you find out that you kind of peter out on the whole grant program.
This is why we monitor it, because if we get to a place where we don't think we're getting a good bang for the buck, like we were afraid, actually, the point that you brought up, that we're going to run out of buildings pretty soon because all the facades are starting to
Right.
look pretty good. So then we expanded it to include the adaptive reuse, which is, I think, a tremendously positive thing to do. And as you mentioned, if the match, I mean, we always want to be in a position where we're leveraging this public money.
Yeah.
And 50-50, I mean, I've worked in cities where you're getting 80-20 and you're getting some results. So I think we just have to monitor it.
Yeah.
If we run out of buildings and we run out of projects,
Yeah.
So it's,
Because it's exciting to see downtown right now.
it's all kind of working together, because right now when I'm talking with potential applicants, they're mentioning the vertical housing development zone. So they're wanting to know if they can, have the grant and qualify for the zone as well, because they're thinking residential now. One of the possible applicants for this next round is right across the street here, the new owner of this High Street building.
Oh.
And so I've talked with them on several occasions, and they're very interested in applying for an adaptive reuse. So it's coming up this way now.
So a non-related question: if we go all the way up the hill to Kitty Corner from the Midway, what's going on?
Olson's,
The old Olson
Olson's.
drug lot.
Yeah, on Monroe and 7th.
That's had a chain link fence around it, and every once in a while they'll show up
Yeah,
with some
that is
people for a
blight.
day or two, and then
Yeah,
is that a Tony question?
that's a Tony question. I think
Alright.
they've been having some financing issues.
That's part of our district, though, isn't it?
Does your
I know.
district go
Tired of
up
looking
that
at
far?
It ends at Division.
Oh, so it does go all the way up.
Yeah, it goes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they could apply for grants.
So there's still quite a bit left. I don't think we're going to run out of buildings anytime soon.
No. As Renata mentioned, let's crank it up to the 7th Street corridor, Right?
There
Well,
have been people that have used grants in that corridor.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody
And
ought to
there's
have
more.
a
I
chat
do
with
think it will
Portland
pick
Electric.
up.
Yeah.
As we saturate the opportunities in other areas, it's going to pick up.
Eric,
Yes.
have you talked to Portland Electric at all? Have you even met with those guys?
Mm-mm.
Might stop in and say hi.
Okay.
They are certainly a candidate for a storefront grant.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll give it a shot.
Olson's.
Next to Carol, across from Dairy Queen.
Oh.
They got
Yes.
the cracked plastic sign and.
Okay.
So we're still working with the property representative for the former landfill, and we talked to a company or a developer company about a month and a half ago. There's still interest there. Basically, this representative is set up where any potential development goes through him, and they contact him, and then he brings them to the city to talk to us. So we're working closely with that representative. And we continue to pursue, as I mentioned earlier, redevelopment of the infill lots. It's not a matter of if they're going to redevelop; it's when. There's a lot of interest, and I think eventually something will happen there, sooner rather than later, given the amount of interest that's been occurring.
So Eric, that was kind of vague for me. So what infill lots? The city-owned ones or other ones or?
The urban renewal and the three main ones. So
Oh, just those, okay.
Yeah, 922 Main, 12th and Main, and the Clackamas Drive one.
So, in the interest of disclosure, I have been working with David and some other folks behind the scenes to try to encourage speedier redevelopment of the Rossman 2 property. And that's about as far as I can go. But just to say that I have been involved and have been talking to people, just so that later it comes up, I let you guys know that.
Sure. Okay.
And the last one is a new one. It is participation in the parking study that's going to happen through a Metro Planning grant. It's expected to begin in the winter of this year and go through the spring, so it's a comprehensive analysis of the parking in the downtown core, looking at the feasibility of a parking garage, how that's going to be operated and managed, and the pedestrian bridge, a potential pedestrian bridge, and that sort of thing. And so that's all happening in our urban renewal district. And so we want to be a partner in that, and we have a few funds where we can contribute to that. Yes.
So are you going to consider the bluff up here on High Street in some of the, I think the last parking study we did incorporate all that. It's in the urban renewal, and it's, you know, if it was all
Yep.
one level, it'd be the adjacent street, but since it's got a bluff there, so is that part of it?
Yeah, it would have to be part of that.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
definitely.
So when was the last parking study
I thought
done?
we did one in
It's just
2000.
six years.
That's what I thought, it was just
Yeah,
a
done
while.
about a year before I got
For
here.
a whole floating
But-
thing
but
right
is
down
the
there along
purpose-
river.
Is the purpose for this parking study more to see how we can increase parking? The other one is more management of the existing parking.
Right.
Is this going to be more for like a parking garage?
This is going to take
Or-
into account the additional parking that's going to be needed for the Blue Heron,
Okay,
the
good.
Willamette Falls
Good.
Legacy
So this
project.
will be different
Yes,
than
it
other
will be
parking
different,
studies.
yes.
Thank
Okay.
you, Carol.
Yeah,
You're
how we're
welcome.
going to
Even
accommodate.
if it was identical, there's been enough revitalization down there.
Yes.
To chase
Yeah,
that.
to change it.
Every 6 years or so, it's good to take a look at that. But
I do, but you can only do so much with what you have. We
That's
really need more.
So it's going
So
to take into
that's
account the
very
redevelopment of that site along with the tourist,
Mhm.
with the river walk and all of that. So,
Okay.
but that's basically what I'm recommending, other than the 922 main survey for the railroad right of way as kind of our work plan for the next biennium, just to continue with the existing projects that we have. Kind of just stay, lay low, don't spend a lot of money, because we want to maybe have the increment that we have generated just sit there and pile up a little bit.
So the increment that is there and is piling up, where is it?
It's being used right now for administration and the grant programs primarily, and then there's a little set aside for reserve,
Okay.
for the reserves that we have. But if we kind of lay low a little bit, and year after year the assessed value increases, and we can just kind of stow that increment and save up for a bigger.
And I know
project.
this is probably a Wyatt question, but where do we stow it? I mean, we aren't sticking it in a mattress under the bed, right?
No, it's in the urban renewal account.
So can we take that money and put it in the local government investment pool so we're making some money on it?
we do invest it.
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
All right.
And I'm not sure exactly how we do that.
We do invest it. And when Eric says lay low, that doesn't mean we have a very robust program.
Right.
For what we're
Oh no,
doing.
yeah.
We just don't think we
Yeah, I
should
get it.
spend every single penny because we
No.
know we're going to have bigger things coming.
Right,
Down
and
the
you
road.
want to take advantage of it when you can.
Yeah.
So
And-
Eric,
and this-
do some of the rehabilitation grants that are making the upper story or basement space more usable, does that increase the increment more than the 3%? It seems like it
does.
would.
Yeah, it does. It does. I don't have the exact figure, but I know that it does, definitely.
And it's reassessed, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think this is a good chunk to keep working on, and I think if we just focus on this, the only thing I would add is back to the grant programs. Can we beef that up a little more by? I know you do outreach, but maybe more communication with the outreach, or maybe doing sections, a little bit at a time, saying we're going to work on these blocks, and as far as going to the property owners and saying, do you know that this grant's available? You may already do this, I don't know. And showing them the application and just a little more help, maybe,
Microphone.
to encourage people to, because this is something that I hear every day about downtown and seeing the improvements and seeing the facades. This is something that's tangible and something that builds a lot of value for our city and the urban renewal district. So if we can kind of beef that up and encourage people to use those
Promote it
grants, promote them a little more,
Eric,
and
can
just
you
awareness.
can you inform the commission how is the amount of applications you get relative to the amount of funds that are available? Are you having a robust interest, or does it seem like sort of the same people coming back?
It's not the same people, it's different people, but we haven't had a problem. We haven't had a problem of running out of funds at the end of this grant
Okay.
cycle.
Yeah.
So we've carried some over, because it depends on the project that's being proposed. Some are small, some are
We
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah, but how many applications are you getting?
The
Are
mics
you
for
getting
the
as
TV.
many as you used to?
Well, based on when. So, we'll get 2 or 3 storefront applications and maybe 1 or 2 adaptive reuse.
We typically fund all the ones we get unless it's
Yeah,
clearly not a
we do
fit.
too. We do too.
So I guess the point I think that Carol's trying to make is that rather than just waiting for somebody to come, maybe if we went out and drove up and down 7th Street and clearly identified some things that maybe need some help, and then go talk to those owners.
A lot of what we did in the past, a lot of times I don't have time to go out and talk to the individual property owners. I wish I did, but we've been trying to do things to enhance it a little bit. Before, we would coordinate quite well with the downtown organization, and Lloyd would go out and talk to the property owners and generate interest.
Well, do you have a packet of stuff that
We send out press releases.
No, I'm saying do you have a set of stuff that you could give to us so that Carol could walk next door, or I could pop in somewhere and go, hey, did you know about this? You could do this, blah,
I
blah,
certainly
blah.
could, but I would print it off from our website, because everything is on our website, step by step. It's got all the forms. It's got everything you need to do, the process. It's all right there on one page, and you can print that off and take it with you, and that will tell you everything that you need to know about the grant programs.
I think you get more bang for your buck by working with the downtown district and the Chamber of Commerce and all that.
Yeah.
But I think also at
So
the
that-
same time,
that's easy.
if we as individuals see something, what does it hurt to stop in and go, hey, I'm a city commissioner, or I'm the mayor, or I'm on the Urban Renewal Commission, and I see that maybe your place could use some help, and we have this program that might help you do that.
Or just asking if they know about it, because some people don't read their information, and even though you put it out there, they may not. Just face-to-face contact makes a huge difference.
You don't want to say this place, but
Gee, it's here.
I mean, that's easy. We can certainly do that. More communication, Good Morning Oregon Cities, we can go announce it to everyone, when the grant application period is open. We can do that.
We can ask the chamber to put it in their e-blast that they do.
We can do that. We can do a
CBA's newsletter, and also
educational GMOC where we can go over the programs. We can go through it step by step and explain them and tell them how it's done and how impactful it's been on Oregon City. Just
a
to
good
kind of sell it.
suggestion.
And this would be a
Thank you,
good thing for an intern too, because it's pretty, tangible. You just go and seek out the property owner and show them the packet and talk to them and encourage them, let them know.
And everybody likes free money.
Mhm.
All right.
it's not free, it's 50-50.
that's right.
Yeah, but the 150 is free.
50's
So,
Anything else?
Like Tom Peterson said.
other than if we want to take
On
a
the
quick
list.
look at the core values and see if that still works for this commission, if we want to tweak any of that.
The only one that kind of is a mouthful is number 2.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what they were thinking of. Cultivating resources, processes, and investments in underutilized.
Or
It was like,
Can you just say urban renewal?
it just I
Kind
don't
of
know.
says that. Urban renewal, says that in a way.
I mean, I like
Just wanna
pretty
delete
much
it.
all the other ones were good core values. That one just kind of, I had to struggle with that one.
I think you could just make the
It's a
list
tongue
1,
twister.
3, 4, 5, and 6.
and that's it.
Just eliminate
Just
two.
eliminate
Yeah,
2.
it's
Well done.
too much of a mouthful for me.
Is that a consensus?
Is that a consensus?
Does anyone,
I think it is.
What
anyone
is the
object to
issue,
deleting
Renee?
this tongue teaser? Okay, no one.
Yeah.
Daphne objects.
No, I don't object. I just had one more issue, so maybe it's an amendment to his. I just, me, throwing in, making the UR district a destination as far as tourism. Do you want to throw tourism in anywhere there? It's economic
Care why they
development.
come?
Making
We don't care why they come, right?
Making the UR district a destination is what is going to create tourism.
It's better to keep it general, I think.
You don't need to.
We want them to come for all
Yeah.
those reasons,
Yeah,
don't
every
we?
reason.
Tourism,
Yes.
investment, job creation.
Well, I just
Spend
just
money.
To kind of just to,
That's
5K walking.
Be it tourist, be it business, be it resident.
Right.
So there are a couple of, I'd asked for some feedback or comments prior to the meeting, and I did receive some comments from Renata and Daphne. And just want to make sure that I've touched on those, if I've answered the questions. Renata, you were considering adding items.
Yeah, I had a couple points. One was just kind of general. It's like you had 3 6-month increments, and it's really tough to estimate so far in advance when exactly you're going to do things. You could just do it in 6-month increments or year increments even.
Or if we don't even have to do those at all, if we just want to say high priority, mid-level, or low priority.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
On the work plan, he has the result impact and then priority level and a time frame.
The ultimate goal is to get it all done in the next plan. I mean, that's what we're
Right.
shooting for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, short,
Till we
mid,
come
and
back
long.
and-
Yeah, I like
works.
that.
Yeah, like how you did it on your PowerPoint.
Okay.
It's good.
And then I just had the goal is job creation and economic development. And there's things that you already do as an economic development manager that is consistent with the goals, and I don't know if you need to spell them out or not, but I just toss it out for the rest of the commission to consider. One is to partner with the Oregon Main Street program as appropriate to improve the downtown core, leverage grant opportunities consistent with URA goals and other capital improvement projects. And the second would be conduct ongoing business recruitment, retention, and entrepreneurship efforts and programs to maintain a vibrant economic district.
Seems like that second one really belongs more under Eric than it does under urban renewal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think that's what Eric's job is anyway, right?
I think so.
You think so?
I think
Yeah,
so.
don't-
Teasing.
All right.
So does anybody feel
Anybody?
like we could add Renata's first one to the list? Is that what your suggestion was?
On the core values?
It's more kind of capturing what's already happening and kind of making it part of our plan. And I'm assuming that he's already working with Main Street and where there's opportunities to partner and
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
just
that
spelling
kind
it
of
out.
thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. This would be one of the values.
What?
No,
In the work plan.
in the work plan. Okay.
Well, I think that the connection between urban renewal and Main Street's got to be a tight one because, so as you were saying, you can't get around to every business.
That's
And
exactly right.
it's the joint cooperation with the Main Street, so I think it'd be a good thing.
They're a good voice too of promoting the successes that we're having downtown as well.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
that's-
So we will add that as one of the
7th Street.
work plan items.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
I would say, it'd be high priority.
We have a group.
Yes.
I'm assuming, yes. So if we could just take a moment and go back and try to prioritize some of these that we're going to leave in here, or if we need to do that at all. Let's just have a quick discussion on that, and then we'll prioritize the ones that are listed here on the.
We didn't give us time.
So let's start with this one. High priority.
I'd call that a
I
high
think
priority
that's
because
pretty
until you
important,
get
yeah.
that, it's going to be really hard to market that property.
Yep.
Eric, you want to list them all out first, and then
Sure.
they can have that discussion?
Okay. We'll do that.
Okay. Be a little easier to rank them that way if you can see them all in front of you. I know they're on your screen.
Well, no, not now.
Cove project,
they're on
grant program, development of the landfill site.
I feel like they're all a priority.
They're all
They all are.
They're all
Forget it. Just put number one.
If you wanted to do that at all.
Just put number
Redevelop-
one by all of them. I think that's.
Redevelopment of the infill lots is the other one.
They're all.
Yeah, are there any ones that
And the
we feel we
parking
can
study.
What do you
wait
think,
on?
Brian? Don't-
that we
aren't they
can
all
put
urgent?
there?
They're all.
Well, I mean, continue the grant programs. That really isn't anything. I mean, it's just there.
Right.
And there's
Infill.
nothing else there I think can wait.
Well, and there's two categories. There's one that is directly in Eric's control that he can actively do something about, like, promoting the the grant programs. That's something he can physically do tomorrow. Some of these other things we're waiting on other people to do, like the code
They're
project,
opportunity
right?
driven.
Right.
And even the things that you kind of rely on me a little bit to direct his activities, because if we have an opportunity, a real one on the landfill, and he says, "Hey, I'm busy with a parking study," I'm going to
No,
say,
you're not.
"No, you're exactly." So we instinctively, I think, can be trusted to know which one of those is hot and which one isn't. But you're right; that is the frustrating part about economic development, is waiting on other people to give you information that you really aren't entitled to have before you're supposed to have it. Right? That's
That's
Dan-
what I've been working on.
Yes, I know.
But in the past, it's been short-term, mid-term, and long-term.
Yeah, we
Right.
our first stab at a work plan, so that's how we established it, was short, mid, and long.
I mean, Cove project better be mid to short.
Very short.
Right? The Cove project. The landfill redevelopment, I mean, is
Gonna be
it
mid to long.
Yeah,
mid to
I
long?
would say
I
that
think
too.
it's going to be
Mid?
The paper reported by the end of the year.
Huh?
The paper reported by the end of the year.
So let's make it a mid.
Oh, well,
What,
that's
what did they say? Exactly.
We
They
don't
said
have
what by
the-
the end of the year?
Yeah.
I said what I told them was I said I believe that we will have a project for that site by the end of this calendar year.
That's what they reported.
I didn't read
Well, I
that.
think it's more of a question of how aggressively we want to pursue it, as opposed to getting it. I mean,
But-
is it a high priority to go after a development there?
I said that for a
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, so.
Since these are all kind of high priorities, why can't we just call them priorities and not rank
We
them
don't have to rank them.
low, mid, high?
We would do that.
And let's just focus on them. And
They're opportunity-driven
Yes.
priorities, and
Right.
we'll exercise.
You
our
know that they're all high
discretion.
priorities, and you two got to figure out which one to concentrate time on that is
Exactly.
most valuable to whichever project is
At that
the
point in
best
time, because
Or
those
become an
it's going to shift, you know.
Yeah, it
They're
will.
going to
It'll
shift
move
back
around,
and
yeah.
forth.
They are.
Yeah.
But I like the word priorities. If that was
Yeah.
word, you know,
We like it
the
too.
work plan priorities. or-
Objectives and priorities, yeah.
Yeah. It's an action word.
And objectives.
Yes.
Never use one.
We want
single
action.
too.
Must be in Toastmasters.
All right.
Daphne, did I cover all your questions, Daphne?
Yes.
I did? Okay.
Yes, because I was curious about the legacy project and why that wouldn't be added to an urban renewal district, but you're saying that you think other opportunities will be greater of help with it.
I think that we're done.
It sounds like we're done, and so.
In closing, I would like to thank all of you for
Hang
your.
on.
Oh.
We have.
We're not,
We gotta
done with,
conclude.
we're not done with the agenda.
No,
We're just
we're
done
not.
I know
with
that.
Oh, okay.
Just
Done
this
with this
phase.
topic.
But I wanted to, I just couldn't sit here and not reflect back on the time when Commissioner West and then later, and certainly Commissioner Smith, 5 years ago, almost to the day, urban renewal then felt a lot different
Oh,
than it does right now. And I just want to thank you and
Slightly,
your
yeah.
predecessors as well. Even the folks that were on then helped us weather a difficult time as well. And I do think we've learned some lessons about being more cautious in how we use urban renewal. It's never going to be something everybody loves, but it is something that I think we've proven that we're responsible with and discreet in how we use it. And I just want to thank all of you. And I'm glad it does feel different now than it did then.
Well, and like I was talking about in the commission meeting, you know, once you do the right thing and you show people that you can do the right thing, then that breeds trust, and that's what we're trying to do is breed trust.
So, and I would just like to thank you all as well for your time and coming out on an irregular night for one of these meetings. And what I will do, I'll draft this up in a quick kind of work plan and some description of the priorities that we have, along with the new core values, and send them out to you as a separate document. So,
Sounds good.
And one thing also, is, have you been down to see the owlies?
the what?
Yeah.
Oh, the
Look at the
alleyways.
alleys downtown.
They're really nice.
What's an alley?
Really good.
I thought he said an alley.
Alley. I'm going, what's an alley?
Yeah, me too.
Let's give it.
You know,
You don't have to take it.
I know
They
that.
do look great.
Lucky I-
we've got a great
thank you.
photograph of that on the city's Facebook page. If you go on there, we
Yeah.
noticed a new visitor to the alleys who probably wouldn't have made it across that without it being paved. And so we took his profile picture from behind. It's an old gentleman with a cane.
Oh,
It's actually walking through that alleyway
Awesome.
after being improved.
That was me.
You know,
No, no.
I almost said something.
one of the other things is I've had occasion to go downtown a couple of times on the weekends in the last 3 weeks, and this is just purely subjective, but it seems to me that there are more people, couples and families and stuff, walking around in downtown Oregon City than I can ever remember.
Yeah.
We just talked about that today at the Main Street meeting. There's more
Yeah.
pedestrians.
Yep, there is.
And even at night with the
Yep.
restaurants and stuff, there's actually a presence down there of
And we have to-
families and couples and.
We have to make sure we keep it that way. Keep it pedestrian and keep the cars away from it. Okay. Well,
Hey,
that's
Brian.
that's the Willamette Falls Legacy project. I hope that doesn't interfere with that. So
I just have one.
very
quick question.
pedestrian. Okay.
Anyone
Okay.
I'm pretty
make
sure
a
we don't want
motion
the.
on the consent agenda, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I'll ask you later.
Okay, go ahead and click your monitors on the motion and the.
It was really quick.
What's
So-
quick enough?
Moved by Commissioner Holiday and seconded by Commissioner Smith.
City manager's report. You already did that.
Wait, wait,
Oh, we
wait,
did?
wait, we're not ready
Oh,
yet.
okay.
So,
And we call the roll.
yes, Commissioner
Yes.
Pauley,
Yes,
Thank you.
aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
All right.
Commissioner Benville,
Aye.
Commissioner Holiday,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Mengelberg,
You still have to push your
and
button.
Chair Smith. And you have to push your buttons, please.
Because
When
it's-
I've got
'cause-
you to push it.
Well, because it's part of the electronic time.
Yeah, we agreed that we would do it verbally and
Yeah.
electronically.
Right.
Yes, and it passes.
Yeah. Any addition to report? Okay. I guess.
City
anything
manager
else?
got a report?
No, he did it during
He
did it.
any. Well,
About the update of the
future
code.
agenda items we didn't have. I don't think.
Let's go.
That's it.